Brothers and sisters, faith is a realization of what is hoped for and evidence of things not seen. That's the opening of our second reading today from the book of Hebrews, that faith is the realization of what is hoped for and evidence of things not seen. On the screens, we have a picture of a church. It's one of my most favorite places in the whole world. It's where I went to college. It's down in southern Indiana, very southern Indiana, about 10 miles from Kentucky. It's about an hour due west of Louisville, Kentucky. And it's a Benedictine monastery. And the monks had their own stone quarry, which is quite a natural thing down in southern Indiana. A lot of good stone comes from there. And the monks dug up the stone and built this church. It took them something like 8 years to complete. I happened to be walking around one night. I was down there last week for the annual alumni reunion. I was walking around one evening, and all of a sudden I just came around this corner, and the church was sitting there like that, and it really was pretty dramatic, and it really is a very, very beautiful place. Again, the monks cut that stone and around the year 1900 before electricity, and did it all manually and hauled it up by mules, and eventually created this great church. When I was there last week on kind of retreat into this alumni reunion, the abbot of the monastery gave a little talk, and in it he talked about the building of this church, but he also talked about the building of Cologne Cathedral in Germany, how it was started in around the year 1200, and they really didn't get the shell of the building done until the 1500s, and they really didn't get finished with the interior until the 1800s. And so for generations after generations, people were building this great cathedral, and it was started before them, and it was sort of continued on after them, but most of them never really got to see the final product and knew they would never see it completed, but yet they gave themselves over to that work, and each did their little piece that eventually created that great cathedral. And the Archabbot told a story about there was a visitor to the cathedral and is very curious about how this is going to be constructed and the people that were working on it. And he happened to see some people going through the streets with some wheelbarrows, and so he asked them what they were doing with their wheelbarrows and their loads of stone they were digging out of the mountain and bringing it into the city. And the first person says, when he asks a question, "What are you doing?" He says, "What does it look like I'm doing? I'm pushing a wheelbarrow full of heavy material. Get out of my way." He had work to do. He didn't apparently enjoy it very much. He wanted to get that load done, and he was just on his way. And that's true. I would imagine any one of us who is pushing a wheelbarrow full of stone from a mountain into the city would probably want to get that work accomplished and be done with it. But this visitor asks another person who he sees pushing a wheelbarrow, asks them, "What are you doing?" And this man says, "I'm working to feed my family." And that's part of what work is all about, of course, is to make some money, to provide for those that we love and care for, to build a home and to have food on the table. And that is exactly true for that man. He was doing his work, and it will have a very immediate effect. Food on the table that night for his family. And the visitor finds a third person pushing a wheelbarrow full of stone, and he asks him what he is doing. This man stands up, looks at him, and says, "I am building a cathedral." He sees something bigger than just the immediate problem that is at hand or what he might get for one day. There's something bigger that he knows that he is giving himself over to. He's building a cathedral. You almost sense a certain pride in that statement. It's his cathedral. It's his work. And he finds great meaning in it. All three of those answers are perfectly acceptable and are absolutely true. Sometimes we have tasks to accomplish, and we just want to get them done. True. We all have work to do and hopefully have a benefit of receiving a paycheck and paying the bills and food on the table, caring for those that we love. Absolutely true as well. But our lives need to be about something more than just getting something accomplished or paying the bills and moving on to the next thing. God has a vocation for each one of us. He has a calling for each one of us. And that's what we get with this second reading today with the letters of the Hebrews, that faith is that sight of seeing something that may not be here yet, but it's on its way. Faith is that trust in God's promise that he has made us for a reason. He has made us for himself. He has given us each some work to do to build up his kingdom and to really take ownership of it, to take pride in that, to really give ourselves over to him, to his call, to his work. There is a sense that each one of us is helping to build up a cathedral, and really more importantly, we're building up God's kingdom in our world, in our lives, and hopefully in our own hearts this day. We have work to do. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes it's not always fun. But it has benefits, both here now for us, but also God has called us into this wonderful relationship with him, what we call faith. And there's a bigger vision than just the problems of the day, because it's his kingdom. It is his work. It is his life that he shares with us. This is what faith is all about. That God is accomplishing his kingdom around us and within us each and every day. And not only that, he calls us to participate in that work, to give ourselves over to him more and more each day. We all have a unique and special role to play in his kingdom. Let us have hearts open to his call, maybe hands that are ready to work, and to really give ourselves over to him more and more each day.